we talked about earlier this season when he was really kind of making that first surge and push for like six man of the year recognition. And we were like, wait, is Malik Monk the third best player on this team? And I couldn't help asking that again because it's like when you get into the playoffs, things are heightened. You kind of start to see things in a different light and you see who steps up when those lights come on. And a lot of guys stepped up, like you were saying, Davion Mitchell stepped up. Trey Lyles looked like he belonged there. You could go down the list. There were a bunch of different. Keegan Murray really came into his own. But it's like the way Malik Monk, like when the Kings won their 3 games, Malik Monk was a huge part of all of them, And I just couldn't help asking, like, is Malik Monk the third best player on this team?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe if he wasn't so streaky. And you know what? Maybe that's why the Kings lost the series, because you know who should be their third best player? Should be Harrison Barnes.
That's right. That's right.
And I mean, he was terrible. And you even maybe want Huerter being your third best player. I don't know. He was at the beginning of the year, kind of fell off quick after that. But I mean, you probably want your 5 starters to. I mean, I get it. The 6 man's its unique role, and Keegan had a good year. But I mean, you kind of want Barnes or Huerter to be your third best player behind Fox and Sabonis. Just in general, I know not. It was Fox and Malik in the playoffs, and that's why they probably lost, because I mean that's another huge problem. I don't know, to change the subject, but Barnes and Huerter were absolutely terrible, and those are the guys with the more like actual playoff experience. Yeah, Barnes hadn't been in 7 years, it felt like, which actually might be true, but man, him and Huerter are the guys who had been there and done that before. And Huerter was, I think the last game 7 he ever played in, he scored like 28 points. And man, those guys killed us. Frustrating, really. It brings up questions for Barnes, I think, personally. Did you try to sign and trade him at this point? I mean, of course you try to keep him, but, and this is more of an off-season question, but it honestly already got me like thinking, like you can't have Barnes performing like that. I get it was
Right.
one series, but it was 7 games, and he had, I think, 1, maybe 2 good games, but when it really mattered, he was not there.
Mm-hmm. I think, like, outside of a few dunks in the series, including like the first score, was it the first score of Game 6?
I think it was the first score of Game 6 and of like Game 2, honestly.
Yeah, and that was like it. I think there were a few times was it Game 5 where he kind of did that, like, let me get to the line and set us on the right track kind of thing. I think he had those kind of moments.
That was Game 5, yeah.
But like never to a degree where it's like, okay, there's the veteran presence. Now, of course, I don't want to take away from anything he was saying in the locker room to support guys. I'm sure that is invaluable, but it's like, you're getting paid how much? You're the starting. You're supposed to be the third best player, like we were saying.
Yeah.
So, and I agree, like, not to get too far into the offseason, but it makes you think. It casts doubt for the first time. The argument that you and I had been kind of lingering on was, it's like, you have to think about keeping Barnes because he is that veteran presence. He's actually very important to this team throughout the regular season. And also, probably more important than anything else, who else are you going to get to come start on the wing for you?
Yeah.
It's very limited. But it's like, now you see that. Well, now you kind of start thinking, maybe we have to get a little creative there, because you're talking about a team that really wants to stay together as far as we're concerned. I mean, again, exit interviews are going on as we speak, and just from James Ham's Twitter, what do you call that? His tweets? Is like a dashboard or like his home? Whatever. I don't know what the term is. It sounds like a lot of these guys, Lyles, Monk, all these guys, they want to keep this group together and all that stuff. So it's like, if you're talking about an upgrade, maybe the backup 5, but maybe the starting small forward. I don't know. You don't want to like start thinking about that too much, because you don't want to take Barnes for granted, especially given the fact that there's not a lot of readily available options to replace him. But he put himself in a position to where people are thinking about that. Herter, not so much, because it's like Herter's still young and he's got a bright future, and you'd like to think that this kind of series won't happen again. Although it was really bad.
Yeah, it was.
That was like really bad, because it's just like, ugh. And it's like you said after game, was it game 6 or game 4? Whenever Murray broke out, and it was just like, you're gonna let the rookie do it?
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna let the rookie power through the aggressive DHO defense that the Warriors were doing? You're gonna let him be the bigger aggressor to counteract that?
Yeah, exactly. And Murray turned it. I love Murray, and it's like awesome, and I'm happy for him. But if it's like Barnes and Herter, like that didn't motivate you after seeing Murray turn things around so quick as his first playoff in his first ever season. Oh
Yeah.
man, brutal. Well, I mean, you said it too, and I was thinking about this earlier. Kind of going, this kind of relates to Barnes, and it's not Barnes' fault, but that game 4, like he makes that shot, we win the series. And I think you said going into that game, it's like, yeah, it kind of feels like this is the game. Whoever wins this game wins the series, and you said it, because I agree. If the Kings go up 3-1, I mean, it'd be hard not to imagine that they win that series with 2 games remaining at home. But no, the Warriors won it, and the Kings had a chance to win it, but just so many little things looking back at, and like what could have been.
So close, such a thin margin at the end of the day with the 7-game series. You really, it would be impossible to ignore the down performances throughout the 7 games from who are supposed to be your like 4 best players, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's rough.
It was really rough.
So yeah, maybe Monk is the 3rd best player, but that's not what you needed.
No, not at all. But you take your hats off. I think I did say going into this, I'm like, I could see Monk living up to the moment. It just seems like a guy who would excel in the playoffs, and it was awesome to see. It's crazy. Playoffs are funny. I mean, the game 1 was 2 Saturdays ago. And like how much hope I had when they won. I was like, dang, we just won game 1. And now look at us. Now just talking about all this, what went wrong.
Yeah. It's like how we started this. It's like the blessing and the curse of playing the Warriors.
Yeah.
At least you got this lesson out of the way, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
It's like taking your chemistry class and I got a C. At least I got that out of the way, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I've got to take that class again.